1.
You may have been denied. You may have hit rock bottom. You may have been craving for the lights. Now, all strive for one goal.
Taking that life of the Akai as well. There becomes the jump on the Emerald.
Put your hands together for the champion.
Do you have what it takes to be a champion worthy of the highest glory? been denied. You may have hit rock bottom. You may have been craving for the lights. Now, all strive for one goal.
Taking that life of the Akai as well. There becomes the jump on the Emeralda.
Put your hands together for the champion.
Do you have what it takes to be a champion worthy of the highest glory?
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the M1 Mobile Legends Bang Bang World Championship. My name's Contra, and here alongside with me is Fatal 5, also known as Gidden Q. And now we're down to our very final series of the Group B, where we've already seen a dominant performance from Burmese Go. They are in the lead, and they are definitely qualifying themselves and towards the next phase. But now we're looking at Axis Esports versus the likes of Candy Comeback.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, Burmese goals definitely showed that they're a class above, and Axis Esports even dropping games to them. So now it's kind of on Axis to get themselves out of this rut where if they don't win 2-0 against Candy Comeback, or at least win a game against Candy Comeback, they won't be able to make it out of the groups, and it's going to go into a 3-way tiebreaker, which nobody really wants to deal with, especially if you're in Axis's position.
That's right, and I'm seeing that all these players, some of them are looking worn out already. They just want to get this over and done with. And speaking of that, we're headed into towards our very first phase of picks and bans, starting off with a Kimi ban taken off right off the bat. So I'm looking at this right here. Of course, every now and then we do see that Kimi being axed away. So
yeah.
What do you feel about this? And can he come back? Of course, today we've seen our first ever Nana pick in the World Championship.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, I don't want to be real toxic here, but I don't think it works out too well. I do think there are certain places and times for it, but that's like very niche situations. Kimi, on the other hand, pretty much 100% pick ban at this point. Like, no one really wants to deal with it, and nobody kind of wants to give it over as well. Great mid game, great early game. So far, we haven't seen games like drag on really, really late in this group. Usually it ends around, you know, the 8th, 9th minute, where it's pretty determined or straightforward who is going to take the game.
And we're also seeing Kufra as well being that sort of a really sought after pick. But
yes,
throughout the entirety of day 1 as well as day 2, we're not really seeing Kufra really come into action. Well, there was a couple of those games with Kufra coming into play, but then again, you know, when you allow that to happen, that's pretty much some great advantages given towards the team that will be able to actually get that sort of a solid pick. Now, of course, Candy Comeback. The only way that they could still find the light of day is to get themselves that 2-0 victory, and to them, they are still hanging by this really team threat. And of course, they're gonna starting off with the Halas pick.
Yep, strong pick overall. I think nobody can kind of doubt that at this point. It's kind of going to give Axis a little bit of an edge here. They're going to go for their double pick here. Most likely going to be the Grok. What they're going to pair it up with is a better question.
Now, speaking of a pairing right here, of course, we got really great mages like Esmeralda, who still gets picked from time to time, but early phase Esmeralda is not really the best of options, but Lunox seems to be that go-to option for Rin of Axis Esports.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, Rin has been performing decently well on it. Maybe not so much early this morning, but, you know, hey, once they got the warm-up going, it's like, all right, let's really take this seriously. You could see that he is a lot better player once he has that warm-up in check. However, Harith is being given over to Candy Comeback. Whether or not they, you know, took that into consideration, not too sure, because still, Esmeralda is on the table as well. A lot of S-tier mages, Gushin as well. I mean, so why do they want to specifically go for the Lunox in this particular situation? Are they looking to maybe pick up a mid-sitar?
Well, perhaps so, because they were looking at the Howard being picked up here, and that's definitely one great option on the table where Axis Esports have been playing a couple of mid-sitar games before, so they could definitely opt to do the same. And Bruno, of course, being brought into the picture throughout today is definitely one that very reliable marksman on the table. So maybe this might just force Axis to actually go in for a marksman pick as well. Well, we're looking at things like Claw, things like the Granger, and time again, carries been brought out. So Axis will reply with that Granger.
Your team
I do
is
enjoy the
bound.
Granger pick here. Great engage, great ways to kind of just dash out of awkward positions. The Rondo is so useful, and the Death Sonata is so effective. But we're going to move on to just getting rid of like either support tanks or fighters at this point, because both sides are still lacking one support or tank, and more importantly, who is going to be their side laner. And Masha is still kind of on the table.
Masha definitely would be a great fit for either side, but we're looking at scalability right now because Candy Comeback seems to me that they do need a lot of time to actually get themselves ready for that sort of a mid to late game phase. And of course, early picks off will possibly give them some great edge. And I'm not really seeing all too much of that for the lineup for now, but they're opting to go for that Valor band, which means only one more left for Axis to choose from. So perhaps they might even axe a couple of all these major sort of tanks coming to play as well.
Yeah, and coming in for a Candy Comeback, they ban out the Valir, deciding, you know, we don't want to deal with the Valir support that kind of roams around, is just super annoying, and keeps Harith at bay. It's like every time you chrono dash in, he just pushes you back, and every single time he does that, and if he gets the empowered and stuns you, that could end up getting yourself killed.
And that's definitely one great point to factor in as well. And Lolita hasn't played throughout the rest of the day, and now we're going in for that Franco pickup once again, that cheese pick that we saw earlier on. After that set against Burmese Gold, they managed to take down Team Gosu with the Franco coming in. So they're trying to pull off the same sort of style against the Laos team. And now we're looking at Baxia being brought in, and Rex Rigum Keon the other day has shown how to play a solid Baxia, and hopefully on the side of CC they will be able to actually get this Baxia running across the map and cause so much of that nuisance.
Yeah, interesting why they decided to pick Baxia now rather than later, or at least, you know, to kind of deny the counter pick. But, I mean, they already saw the Franco, so I don't know. It's kind of interesting. The Cho, on the other hand, that's a pretty interesting pick in itself, because they waited until the very end to finally pick him up. Like, he's not going to be in that support position. He's definitely going to be in the fighter top side. And right now, Axis Esports has to kind of decide, like, oh no, we can't really deal with the Cho, especially if he's a fighter. With the number of fighters you have, it's really limited.
Yeah, and I'm really looking at Axis here, having a really deep discussion with their coach right there, and they're really playing things out. How are they supposed to complete this lineup? Well, I do believe that they could definitely fit one more fighter in, and it will definitely be that Masha for that very final pickup. So for the side of CC, they had their chances to actually secure that Masha, but they opt not to do so. That's pretty interesting to me. But what I do like for the fact that with that Chow coming into the picture as well as Baxia, which means that Franco needs to be a little bit more careful on who he's got to hook right in towards the team. So now all these stuff are locked right in, and we're ready to get ourselves into Game 1.
Yeah, and looking at Axis Esports in comparison to Candy Comeback's composition, I think what Cho brings to the table is really frustrating, because then he puts a lot of kill potential onto Masha, and I think that's what Axis Esports kind of hesitated to lock in the Masha. We can see that their earlier 4 picks are really strong together, has some great siege potential. Franco, the moment they start sieging a turret, if anyone walks up, you're in range of actually dying, or at least getting hit by a Death Sonata, which may result in you getting iron hooked, which may result with you just instantly getting shot down. So it's like it's one after the other.
And layers and layers.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of that happen before. There was so many of those sort of hook and flicker to actually get itself that extended range. And
exactly.
Imagine if there were to be, you know, if they were to follow like Bernie's goal after that sort of hook coming from Franco. Imagine there's also a giant to pull it all the way back with the ejector. That will be some really great distance being traveled unwillingly by whoever gets hooked up.
Can we get a counter? Can we get a counter if ever, like the longest hook we can get, the longest chain CC timer? just let it roll.
Oh,
Let it roll.
well, that will definitely be fun to watch, but what's even more fun is that we're going in towards our very final series right here of this best of 3 between Candy Comeback versus Axis Esports. Now, of course, we've seen so many of all these players pit each other
that's
against.
so dirty.
Well, we've already seen that sort of perfect wave clear coming from the side of CC, already getting in towards the very first camp for Norse and Bister.
I mean, check this out. Lassid decides to hide in the brush and wait for the moment to give over the buff. He barely loses his entire health bar, and now he walks up, he loses 2 minions. That's A-okay, but the buff is secured so quickly, it kind of denies a lot of EXP to their top side. And look at Bruno, he's only hit level 2. He should be nearing 3 at this point.
Well, that's definitely food for thought. Well, they definitely could have made a better option heading into this, but then again, look at Evil X. He's still level 1, which is, well, of course, pretty far. But look at Scott, though. All alone over on the bomb side. Will be joined by the Granger as well. So great rotations starting off from the side of Axis Esports. And that's definitely that redemption code for you guys back at home to claim some freebies. So what's in the box? It's for you to find out.
Yeah, get it while you still can, because these go. I mean, there's so many codes to be given away over the next couple of days, so stick around and watch some more if you want to be able to get some free prizes. But more importantly, I think you should check out the Granger, who's just having the time of his life with Franco just being his bodyguard in the river. Like, oh, if you're gonna rotate, like, we will know.
Oh wow, definitely that's something to look out for. Now, double rejuvenation for the side of Candy Comeback for their frontliners, Toms as well as North. So I'm really hoping to see them really outlast these enemies in those team fights. Well, I'm not too sure how are they supposed to approach this as North.
Just over the wall, but the rest of the team is not going to let him go without a fight. Lassid taking so much damage, but it ain't going to be enough as Scott locks the last member down. Bister finally dies to that bloody hunt.
Wow, there's so many of these kills happening in the blink of an eye. Although Candy Comeback managed to secure that turtle, look at that overcommitment coming from CC. They dive over on an Evil X, but that flicker gave him a little bit of safety net for a while, and the rest of Axis Esports, they just march right in and punishes them for that overstep. Now, of course, that's definitely not worth it because they walk away with 4 kills in total after that skirmish happening on that turtle.
I mean, even though they did, you know, kind of throw their bodies at him, it allowed Conan a little bit of space to actually break that bottom side. Well, Tom's having to pop that glorious pathway to keep himself alive and a way to escape. But the rest of the team kind of has to respond because now Cho is going to be split pushing for the most part, knowing that his team is behind. He needs to pull pressure towards himself.
Well, I'm not too sure whether that righteous pathway would be pretty much be put into great effect, but he could have just walked out of that alive if we just fall back into that brush. Well, speaking of a brush here, Rin as well as Evil X are applying something up, and Norris will be diving head first. And where the rest of Candy come at? They don't really want to actually fully commit to that, so they're going to be playing a little bit more passively as the next turtle will be spawning out on the lower side of the river.
Yeah, they've done a really good, well, not really an interesting, but a very smart lane swap here. One if a fight breaks out.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that they're giving a little bit more attention towards the mid as well as top because there's no point finding a Masha to be able to Masha here. Toms is getting chunked out as well, but here comes North joining the picture, and Evil X a little bit off of position, but that flicker is going to be popped out. Well, this is going to be Rin already on that watch, trying to actually secure this turtle, and they will try to snatch this one away. Evil X on the forefront. Will they be able to connect? And it will be Candy Comeback with the second turtle in hand.
Yep, and they're trying to make something happen, but Bister, even though he got hit by all the abilities, still survives. Evil X makes it out of there with that wall charge. Rin taking quite a bit of damage here, forces the flicker. And Bloody Hunt isn't there, and Tom's popping the rejuvenation really, really quickly, making sure he survives. Even though he's taking a lot of damage, Rin goes down! And now Lung finally able to join the combat here. They don't have enough minions. Lassid is already in there. Masha comes in, and she gets the initial kill while the rest of the team pulls off backwards. Bister is still alive. The Salmon Force popped, but he chrono dashes away. Conan trying to make something work, but again, Lassid survives, able to kite it out.
I just felt like that dive was so unnecessary, and every one of these members of Candy Comeback kind of committed to that. Now, from that 4 kill gap, it's headed in towards 8-2. A little bit of that sort of rewind for you guys to miss out some of these action. Brought to you by U-Mobile. Now, they of course overcommitted. No minutes at all, which means that Lasted could dive right back in to punish Toms for that overextension. And of course, that will be it for now. But CC slowly falling back, and their levels are not really all too great either. Well, of course, pretty decent if you really want to compare it to all these members of Axis Esports. But wow, of that sort of a team fight, we're seeing about 3K goal in the span of that few minutes of time.
Yep, and again, the Iron Hook lands. Toms is in trouble. He's taking so much damage, but oh, I thought he was going to make it out of the glorious pathway. Is it going to be enough to keep him after using the Rejuvenate so many times? It's still on cooldown. They're still pushing forward. Can they get another Iron Hook? Wild Charge has already been won by Evil X. The rest of the team is peeling backwards, and Granger isn't going to let anybody go without a fight. He's going to keep on shooting for the Iron Hook. Does miss from Scott. Rin needs one more hit. Rejuvenation has already been popped. Bister takes a little bit of damage, but not enough to finish him off. Oh my, hello there, Conan. Gets locked down by the Bloody Hunt, kicks him away with the Way of the Dragon, gets hit with a full rep. Ooh.
Well, I believe that was pretty much a huge miscommunication over on the side of Conan, because every one of these members are already low, and he chose to actually cut through the side to go in for the flank, but fight's already over before it's been begun, and Axis Esports now could also opt to actually push all these sort of the waves back towards the side of Candy Comeback and set up for the Lord, which will come out about 100 seconds from now. And look at the items. Of course, you have the Calamity Scythe already being purchased from the side of Harif, Blade of Despair for the Granger as well. So all these big items are coming out, and oh, that's a great hook over on Norse, and this is definitely one great pickup, all thanks to Scott.
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue to deal with for Candy Comeback, because they're getting picked off way too often, but Scott's not letting them have a good time either. Tom's pops the glorious pathway, trying to make something happen here, but I don't think it's going to work. I think Evil X, I mean, Scott should have his Iron Hook up relatively soon, but he doesn't want to get on a target like Tom's. He wants to pick up Conan. He wants to pick up Ton MVP. Like, he wants to get the bigger hitters from Candy Comeback side.
Well, I definitely would say that Candy Comeback could still actually look for that late game ceremony, but Tom's keep getting pressurized and caught out. They should not even get anywhere close to that junction, and Norris here, of course, arriving here, having nothing to do at all, just to farm a little bit more as he can. But Candy Comeback doesn't seem to be able to actually respond well, because even if you really want to focus on members of Axis Esports, you got so many frontliners like Evil X, like Scott, or even members like Lasset, who is technically unkillable by now.
Yeah, I mean, again, another Bloody Hunt has popped onto Boxia. Like, there's nothing they can do right now, because both Lung and Rin are gigantic in this game, and not to mention that Lasset, he already has the Windtalker and Demon Hunter Sword. He's basically unstoppable if he's left to his own accord, and that's why two people on the top side just have to make sure they clear the wave so that Masha doesn't get the push. And this is putting Candy Comeback, between a rock and a hard place. It's either you go to the bot side and try not to get hooked by this Scott's Franco. Iron Hook lands again!
Oh no! Mega kill going in the hands of Low, and they're looking for the double for him as well. Axis Esports now have a free pass to get that Lord underway, and Axis, they say they might not even need this one in hand. And now Norris diving all the way back. That hook almost connects, and every one of these members are really worried of getting pulled back by the side of Scott, as he's already getting 10 assists just by landing those hooks.
Exactly, and Lung, just with one crescendo, is chunking people to half their HP, and I think that's already a big statement in itself, that their carries are just so well farmed. They're just going to sit into the brush, play brush, guerrilla warfare, and brush tactics. If anybody walks up, just hook them, kill them, make sure that they don't have any breathing room outside of their base.
That's right, and I'm looking at the goal charts as well. Like, this is one of those games with 10K deficit, and I feel like Candy Comeback, I'm not sure if we're going to have that sort of a name at the back, though. Like, you can be Candy, but Comeback at this point in time, pretty much hard to do.
Yeah, and Lord is already knocking on to Death's door here. Inhibitors going down like it's nothing. I mean, with Lasset, he just chunks it out so quickly with just a couple of abilities. And Candy Comeback just kind of can't really do too much here as well. Getting locked down too far. The rest of the team doesn't want to help him out. Toms, again, the tanks are getting punished again and again and again. The carries are not willing to follow up.
Oh no, to Ton MVP, almost falling flat as well. Now here comes the Silent Force coming out, and they're trying to break down Lone. That's going to be a shutdown coming in, and Lasted trying to actually take down the Harif, and he'll be able to connect, and it's only down to Ton MVP, and Axis Esports wants to go in for the wipeout before going for the style points finisher, and this will be the first point given over on the side of Axis Esports.
Definitely a huge confidence booster for Axis Esports after, a very poor playing in earlier this morning. Now slowly coming back, getting these 2-0s, and I think with one more 2-0, that's going to secure them. I mean, they've already secured their spot into the playoffs at this point. It's just, just a little bit more to, add up to your KDA.
That is pretty much true. And imagine this, like if Candy Comeback does pull off a heist and come out with a 2-1 reverse sweep, then maybe they might be putting on that back foot as well. But
That's
then again,
true.
I would say that they're still qualified because they did defeat Team Gosu. Now, back to the stats we go. Mister, of course, tried his best, got some really high damage output, 52% for the side of Candy Comebacks, but that proves to be not enough for the side of Candy Comebacks to defeat Axis Esports. As you see, Axis having Scott, Rin, as well as Lung with those high KDAs for really great reasons. And now let's hit into the highlights of the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, so far this entire game was just a real struggle for Candy Comeback because it's not like they weren't playing on tempo. It's just some of the executions and some of the decision makings were a little
bit sloppy.
I wouldn't say sloppy, just not right. Like going into this fight here, why was the dive onto the backline so prominent? Like, what was the objective of this? If your objective was to allow space for Cho to actually break the bottom side, then why not just play it a lot slower? They instantly 1-0, 1-100 went to the backline, tried to make it happen. This dive here, same thing. You saw what was going on, but they responded so late to it. They got the initial kill. They should just back off. They had only one minion, and they weren't looking at the map. Lung was already missing at that point of time.
That's right, and they actually further commit all 4 members in towards that dive for no apparently good reason at all. And this is where Axis Esports further extend the lead as well, catching up Conan time and time again. Baxia, no problem as well. So Scott just doing his best to actually get as much points for his team. And of course, with that, all these tanks were negated, useless by the time that they hit in towards the late phase. So Axis Esports have a lot of great entry points here. They could just really go into the jungle. It doesn't matter how many members are left from the side of Candy Comeback. All they know is they could definitely fight till the finish line.
And see, I honestly, I don't think Candy Comeback is bad. Honestly, I don't think they are bad. I just think they are very inexperienced with, certain heroes and also kind of how to play from behind, because a lot of the time this could be avoided if they don't decide to go through the most optimal way through the jungle, where, yes, it is the fastest way, but it's also some of the most dangerous pathways because there are so many brushes, and with the length of the Iron Hook, they have to always keep that in mind, that they have to stay away from certain bushes, certain angles if they don't want to get snagged away.
And snag away is the sort of situation that they have been facing off in game number 1. So in game 2, they definitely need to change things up, and perhaps picking a thing like a Grok, having a little bit more immunity will possibly give them a little bit of that chance, since they're going to be having that sort of opportunity heading in towards that red side. If the side of Axis Esports does not prioritize that Grot, if it doesn't get banned anyways.
Agreed. I definitely agree. I think more importantly, they need something that's a little bit more forgiving to play, and they might want to consider getting rid of Franco, because we've seen Axis play time and time again with the Franco. It's very oppressive once they get the lead, but once, if you are able to kind of go even, go towards the late game, then he's just a CC bot, and most of the time it's easier to kind of play around the hook more than having, they have a way of engage. Most of the time they don't. They're just so dependent on that hook, so you can play around it.
That's right, and there's also many ways that you can build items to counter it, or even change your spells to actually negate that sort of a crowd control upon you. Now, heading in towards the second game of this series, we're seeing Kimi as well as Kaya. Well, nothing much too unfamiliar when it comes to the first phase of picks and bans, but course, Axis Esports here. Starting off, I wonder what will be their priority. Maybe they might want to land their hands on export because they haven't been really playing all too much of that anyways, heading in towards this Group B.
Definitely agreed. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to let Xborg through, to be perfectly honest. I think everyone still kind of fears him because he can be flexed into that fighter and support role. You're not too sure where he's going to be, but he still provides a lot of damage, a lot of support, and he has a great way of escape with the Firaga armor.
Which is why they also banned it away. So all the hype from us went into vain, but it's all right. We're pretty used to it by this point of time. But of course, now CC's turn to actually take things off, and well, of course, handsome-looking faces coming from the Laos side, and can he come back here? They need to prove themselves. They need to at least take a point away from Axis Esports because all the support, all the fans back in Laos are cheering them on, and they want to put on their best form. But Axis Esports here, after that first game against Burmese Gold, they of course were upset with that sort of performance. But when they fought Team Gosu, suddenly things have definitely turned for the better, and they have never really lost that form from that point onwards.
Yep, and I think, well, that's true. That's definitely true. But honestly, I don't really know what to say here because Can They Come Back? I think they just need a little bit more experience. If they had more time, before the M1 to kind of scrim a lot of these other teams, I think they could have been an even better team than they are now. It's just you can't really tell where their ceiling is, and I think that's what's really great about these guys. And on top of the fact that they have a great positive mentality towards this, I mean, you have to commend them for that.
That's right, and we're seeing a couple of giggles and smiles as well. Maybe it's because they managed to secure that Krufa that they've been eyeing out for. But there's still one more pick left for Ton MVP to actually pick up, and that'll be Terizla. Well, we haven't seen Terizla in a while. Of course, there's a little bit of that sort of buff nerves and hits and misses every now and then. But of course, Terizla is still very reliable coming into those team fights, and that huge element in between. That's going to be something that is game-changing. Yeah, it's not a bloody hunt. It's not an iron hook, but I think, you know, if you need a Grok of some sort, Terizla kind of fits that role. However, I mean, he's easy to play around, and that's why a lot of teams tend to avoid him. But Valir, as well as the Lunox being picked, again, three really, really strong picks coming in from Axis Esports that kind of secure their team composition that, yeah, they do want to fight. They do want people to engage on them. They're just going to sit back and wait it out. That's right. And we're seeing some really great drafts coming from the side of Candy Comeback. In a sense, this is like a dream lineup for many. But same goes to Axis Esports, who managed to secure that Valier. We talk about that sort of burst. And combined with Lunox, who's so slippery with that Order of Chaos as well as Brilliant. That's definitely going to pack a punch. But looking at the side of Candy Comebacks here, of course, Terizla as well as the Harith will be that sort of core end. We're seeing whether or not can Kufra be playing into its great effect, where we talked about Tyrant's Rage and the bouncing ball being so disruptive, and I think that he definitely will be able to reach great lengths to actually catch out that Valir, but it's about that follow-up that comes right after. Truly, it really is about the follow-up. Like, he can set it up for like a good 2 to 3 seconds, but after that, if nobody follows up, he's kind of on his own. And coming with the bans, Leomort as well as the Masha, all right, fair enough, it's understandable. Get rid of a super safe pick and get rid of, you know, a split pusher. This might revert Axis to, you know, maybe even picking up a Hayabusa, or maybe a Hayabusa for Candy Comeback if they wanted to. Definitely a lot of options right outside of their minds for the time being. Of course, a lot of discussions being pulled through, but, you know, not too much of a big fan of that Leomort ban, though. Like, there's still things like Akai, which is also pretty safe, but then again, Leomort skills pretty well, especially if he gets any sort of that lead. But wow, Aldous! Now, they're definitely doubling things up with this sort of pickup here. And, you know, let's talk about Aldous for a little bit. There's also the special skin for M1 as well for Aldous, so maybe he might want to bring that up in a bit. But then again, Aldous takes a lot of time to actually skill into getting that sort of assassin pick. And I think that the reason why they go for this is to also lock against Bruno or even that Valley that we just talked about.
Yeah, I think it's one way to deal with him. I don't think it's the best way because Valir, he does have 2 charges and he has to be very, very careful towards the mid game when, you know, Aldius starts really ramping up to that 1k damage. And then once he gets into the later game, that 2k damage, like, you have to be so careful. But Axis Esports, on the other hand, they're locking in the Bruno as well as the Cho, and Cho is going to be most likely their fighter pick this time round. And it's interesting because at least he's going to be he's strong enough to oppress the Aldius. The better question is whether is Aldius going to have someone to babysit him? Most likely yes, but we're just going to have to wait and see, especially if they lock in that Gushing here from Candy come back.
Well, I feel like they're just going in for this really risky composition where they really just want to burst out any sort of targets that they see right in front of them and just fall back. But we see that sort of a movements coming from across the map for Candy comeback, which I feel like their positioning would be a little bit off. But if they can fix that in this game, then perhaps if they can get a couple more of that sort of great pickoffs, they might be able to get a really huge lead. And looking at that, we're having 2 revitalized for inside of Candy comebacks. 1 arrival for Rin as well, swaps back in towards the Flicker. And now let's get this show on the way.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game here because once you have a double mage composition, you're hoping to like really get a huge advantage off of your level 4, and I think that's where the discrepancy is going to come because everywhere across the map you're expecting, oh, your tanks take roam items and you're hoping to get to 4 as quickly as possible, and one lane is not going to get that support, so he's going to be, you know, level 3, level 2. You're not going to all hit level 4 at the same time. I think that's where the question of how much gold can you really distribute amongst these 3 very item-hungry heroes?
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be that's a power struggle. Hey, I should take this camp. Hey, I should take this minion farm. And if you were set back by members of Axis, that is going to be a bigger issue. And some of these members will definitely get starved out. But speaking of that, we're going to find out more in the second game of the series, as we'll see Axis Esports trying to snatch up a total of 3 points, or can Candy come back make sure that they get at least 1 more point on the table and hit themselves into game 3.
Yeah, and we can see that the lane assignments are very obvious here. Oh, Lassid already going in for a big chunk out of Norse. He already has to pop the rejuvenation as quickly as possible. Oh, 1 more hit until he goes down, and yes, he does. Evil exit. People tell me, oh, Grok's power of nature. Ooh, it's been nerfed so hard. No, it deals a lot of damage.
Well, it doesn't really matter with the nerf because that sort of a nerf gave him a little bit of balance with 100 more damage output right out there. It's only about the cooldown, so does it even really matter if it's just a couple of seconds left? And now, speaking of Evil X, they're getting Tom stuck by the corners of the wall. And 1 more kill going in the hands of Axis.
Yeah, and Axis, they've got a really early centric composition. Lung, Lassid, both so strong at level 1. Not to mention when you have Scott, Evil X, like, okay, sure, Rin, not the most dominant. It's not like a Lilia, but she can sustain through everything. Lunok's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then she could just freely roam, and look at that redemption code right up there. Of course, the juicy as it gets, and we're seeing 1 tower for the side of Axis Esports. But looking at Toms, he's trying to stop this, but this is way too much for him to handle.
Yeah, it's just so much pressure, so much early game damage from the side of Axis Esports. They're just not letting them play the game, and Candy come back. They're like, okay, we need to make something happen. They quickly steal the buff from Axis Esports' side, and I think he just got spotted out there by the Cho. They know that he's in the top side. If they force a fight, they might actually win this, but it looks like they're just going to completely avoid it.
Yes, indeed. And we're seeing Axis Esports first getting this sort of a huge 3-kill lead, but from the side of CC, they're already locking their eyes upon that turtle, and could they possibly even steal this on the way coming in? Oh my goodness me! Now they're committing to this fight.
Yep, and they want to keep on going. The rejuvenation already popped. Rin trying to make it happen. The chaos assault, but again, Terizla is taking quite a bit of damage. The body of the Smith a little too strong. Lassid gets away to the dragon, instantly kills that Gushing, but Terizla takes out Rin.
Now Scott as well as Rin finally received their first step of the game, and now Norse will be caught out as well. Lassid will seal the kill, and now it's down to that 1v1 between Toms as well as Lassid. Now, of course, they're both pretty much having pretty great chunks of health left, and there's no point committing towards the Kufar as well. But wow, let's have a look into towards the team fight. Bottom River once again, as we see the first couple of kills, of course, headed towards the side of CC. But look at this go. Like, with the Dragon, as well as the Grok just running at you with the wall charge, there's no escape whatsoever. Yeah, and Axis was doing great.
And just look here, the lower you get to Rizla, if he lands that revenge strike, it's going to deal so much more because it does missing percent health damage. So he's basically going to execute you in a sense. He just walks away, lets the Grok die, trades the kills over. Rizla is doing so good so far, but is that going to be enough for Candy Comeback to really gain a lead here?
Well, I feel like at least he's doing his best, but if it's enough, I would say that it's not really sufficient for the time being, because there's only a couple of that sort of small leads for them. While we're looking at the goal graph, it's already telling us that Axis Esports, they're already snowballing and getting their first items up, and Norse, of course, you speak of the Rizla and Evil X, just showing off for a little bit, as well as Lasted tries to finish out the kill, and yep, they're just getting caught around.
Yeah, I don't think Norse, even though he should be clearing waves, he shouldn't be doing something so reckless like this. He could have easily walked back to his turn, but I think he tried to cut the wave a little too greedily, and now is going to get punished. Bouncing ball. Conan is actually going to be able to walk away, but again, ooh, the bouncing ball isn't going to be enough to protect him. Bister taking quite a bit of damage. Lasted needs one more hit. He needs one more hit, but Bister, he's going to get his ability back up. Oh, misses the sword spike.
Well, I felt like the Gushin definitely would be able to turn it around, but Mr. tries not to risk it. And if he ever falls back to his turret range, there's also Evil X right across. But Axis Esports putting their forces into its mid lane, trying to break it all the way open. So all the tier 1s are already off the table, and Axis Esports here looking for that turtle. And in the span of less than 5 minutes, we're seeing Axis ramp things up, and they're getting that 5,000 gold lead right after securing the turtle.
Yeah, I mean, Axis Esports is running one as a 4-1 kill comp. Norse is in trouble, gets locked down by the wild charge, but he's trying to make it out. Rejuvenation isn't going to be enough. Tobbs is going to be the next one going down. He's trying to heal back up. He pops his own rejuvenation. Isn't going to be enough. He's able to make it. Bistler gets the back line. He kills the Valir already with an instant 1-2 punch. Shadow Blade Slaughter into combo. Oh, ton MVP. One more hit. He survives a little bit more. Bistler's taking a lot of damage from the Darkening, but is that going to be enough? Tobbs bouncing ball allows to pick up the Grok. Hung quickly cleans it all up, and a nice team wipe there.
Oh my, that definitely was a team wipe, but of course Norse spawns up a little bit later. Now let's have a look at our U-Mobile replay here, as we see all these members of CC, they were just dancing around the tower, and even though they had the chance to run away, they opt not to do so. They recommitted to the fight, so this one's definitely on them, where we felt like, you know, like they were already running towards the lower side, and Bister, from that perfect health, he just falls flat. And that's the power of the Lunox when you give Rid 5 kills in the back.
Yeah, and once he gets it, ooh, penalty zone already used on the Norse. Oh, big catch here! Great Tyrants right into penalty zone! This is huge! They try to turn this around, but they don't have enough damage. Oh my goodness, this would have been different. Oh, here he comes. Konan's trying to make it through. Aldius, he tries to pop. He pops his shield. Is he going to get that last hit? No, he does not. Does not have vision. Goes down instantaneously and disrupted time and time again. Another team bot going in from Axis. Great engage coming from Candy Comeback, but the lead is just too large. There's too much of a gold gap onto Axis Esports, and there's so many items, their stats, it's just too much.
Unnecessary fights after another, and this is definitely a full commitment, and CC slowly falling off. And I felt like even for them to actually commit to Rin was definitely a mistake, because she still had the Order of Brilliance up, so easily she could just pop it and make sure that she's well and safe, and now Lung will be able to secure that third turtle of the game. Axis Esports now having too huge of a lead, and I don't think that they'll be throwing this game anytime soon.
I would tend to disagree. I think that was like a really good engagement. They had all the abilities land on the right targets. They just didn't have the items or the damage to kind of follow up. Maybe if they did this when the gold was a little bit even, it would have been better.
Whoa.
Oh no.
That's a little bit hard to watch, of course, and we're already seeing the penalty zone being used up from the side of members of Candy Comeback, and now Axis Esports will be breaking the doors wide open once again over in the mid lane, but it still stands for the time being. Monster kill for the Bruno. Then Ton MVP will fall for that double in the hands of Lung. And now one more Way of the Dragon over onto Norse, and this will be legendary. for Rin as they break down the bottom side. And yep, back to that sort of fight. It was beautiful, but they did not have all these members to actually follow up. And speaking of that, that's almost a great tyrant's range to push them all the way back. But Axis Esports were too tough to bring down. And Conan is running for his life, is trying to escape. Only one tick of health left, and he does walk it out alive, but not so fortunate for the Gushin as Axis Esports tries to close things off with a bang, and Axis Esports will secure a total of 3 points by the end of day 2.
Yep, strong, dominant game coming in for Axis Esports, showing that they are a class above Candy. Comeback here, but again, these guys, really positive mentals all around. They are having fun. They knew there was a defeated game, but still, they are keeping themselves positive. Very respectable.
Yeah, very respectable indeed, and not many teams will be able to pull off such a risky composition as well. And at one point, it does look like it was coming into effect because we talked about that struggle of farming. Of course, Axis brought them 3-0, but they were still trying to look for those sort of opportunities and creating them towards the bottom side. But it was way too hard as Lung was the one emerging on top alongside with Rin. And these dynamic duos here walked off with one of the most kills as well as damage of the game here, with Lung having that 10.7 KDA.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just a huge lead being given over. That early game from Axis was so powerful, and I think if CC kind of held their ground a little bit more, kind of focused on clearing the waves, making sure they want to kind of hit level 4 before they start these bigger fights, I think that should have been the option, but it was just a little too difficult. Let's look at the highlights and recap the game so far.
Yep, starting off over on the early game, we see, of course, Norris getting chunked out by Evil X as well, getting that first blood. And you talk about that nerf, it doesn't feel like the Grog will be needing any sort of buff for the current standpoint. But looking at this sort of fight inside of that river, and this was due to that sort of a commitment towards Turtle, but Mister was all by himself, and he dove right in, and he gets caught out by both the Chow as well as the Grok as well. And here comes that sort of extended fight. But this is where things get even more interesting because Tom's hop right in, tries to knock Rin at the back, and he gets himself into trouble as well. And after that, he tries to pull himself back, and this is where Bister says, okay, I can get that kill towards the side of Valir, but what comes after? Bister should follow up, but because he's just waiting for his cooldown, he thinks that he can take Rin head on, but he regretted instantly when Rin shows up.
Yeah, I think the rest of the team should have kind of just backed away, waited for their cooldowns, and then went back to engage. And I think Bister kind of overextended there. But overall, I think this is like one of the greatest fights because CC was looking very poised to win. Like Lasset was almost about to die. Rin so close. More importantly, Lung was like at 1 HP at a certain point if he didn't pop that regenerate and slide tackle out of there in time. Like,
yeah.
Ooh, had the timing been just a little bit better, it was just 0.2 off of getting locked down.
That's definitely something that we will have to look at because Candy Comebacks, if they do have 5 members right there to commit at the same time, then it will be a different fate for Axis Esports. But the follow-ups were a little bit way too late. Of course, for Aldous, you don't really expect him being somewhere in the front line. Anyways, he's got to fly in with his ult. But what's done is done, and now, of course, we congratulate Axis Esports for advancing into the playoff runs as we see the Malaysians being one of the hometown favorites, of course, and there's still heavy support for the Indonesian side as well as Burmese goals of Myanmar.
Yeah, so many teams have already qualified so far, and this is only just Group B, and the competition is only going to get more fierce with Group C as well as Group D happening tomorrow and the day after. And I think overall Group B has been good. I think we've talked about this before, it being anybody's game here, and I think unfortunately Team Gosu won't be able to make it through. 2 teams already eliminated, but what can we say?
Yep, that's definitely one thing that's great, but of course in the Group of Life, we're going to see what's going to be the words from Axis Esports.
Thank you so much, Shoutcasters. I am Anjin Valdez, and welcome to the post-game interview. I am with Scott, the support of Axis Esports, getting 6-0 and securing the spot in the upcoming playoffs. Mr. Scott, how are you?
I'm fine.
I'm fine, all right. What is going through your mind coming in to this playoffs?
I'm very happy and very proud of my own team because we managed to get back from the 2-0 setback from BG. We managed to secure two wins against Gosu and Kenny come back.
All right. Looking strong right there from Mr. Scott. You got 2-0, as you said, for your series number 1. How did you guys maintain your composure for you guys to reset and come back from this day?
Yes, we had like a little bit of mental down from the first game, and we discussed properly as a team. Then we really make a preparation now for our upcoming matches.
Okay, all right. You just need to focus, right? You just need to focus. In terms of preparation, how will you guys prepare coming into this playoffs this weekend?
In terms of preparation for playoff, my team will like have more training time and have more time to sparring with any other